Warning, the following communications are not authorized. Please disable your signals and report to your local re-education center immediately. Failure to comply will result in immediate reprimand and capital punishment.
Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Jingle Bell! Hey, good to see you, baby. Hey, man, I feel good. Hey, y'all, everybody, Merry Christmas, looking for Pinky Knuckles.
Merry Christmas. We're reporting Opine and TatumReport.com. We just watched that. My girlfriend and I watched the Friday movies, all of them, like just a few weeks ago. So,
not for the first time. Not for the first time.
No, I had seen them. She hadn't seen them. They all got on Netflix, though.
Oh, I actually am mooching Netflix off my parents. I haven't watched it yet. I do remember, though, that that clip is from the third one, right? Friday After Next, which actually is probably the least funny of them all, but still pretty good. And remember, there was also supposed to be Last Friday, kind of like Dr. Dre's Detox. It just never made it.
Never came out right. Detox, that bastard. The first one's obviously the best one. We've got so much to get to today. There's statistics about people leaving California, New York.
Yeah, I'm back in New York, if you can't tell. See.
There's our title track of Demi Lovato, Trump talking about vaccines, whole bunch of stuff, and some new holiday stuff from Bed Bankus. Let's go with the title track, I think. Let's get Demi Lovato out here. This is just completely stupid. It's from the Ben Shapiro show. And this is even low and bad quality for a paranormal show, like the ghost hunting shows. So I believe, and Ben Shapiro is going to talk about it a bit here. Sorry, Ben, I'd cut it out if I was more into editing this, but there's a ghost that apparently had sexual trauma, and Demi Lovato thinks she can relate to the ghost, but the ghost doesn't want the other men in the room because of its sexual trauma. And the reason why I think it's so low for a paranormal show is because it's like they don't need any other signs, but they're just using like a radio frequency as a sign of a ghost, and it's so bad. Let's just watch it, I guess.
People, and we're all crazy for watching this and pretending that this is a serious and sane human being. Again, let me explain. Demi Lovato is a gender hero.
Okay, here's the thing. Here's the deal. Demi Lovato, the ghost. No, I'm just going to fast forward a couple seconds here. Here's the thing. Demi Lovato, ghost, can't do it, okay?
And I'm just going to let the clip speak for itself what happens next.
I have trauma too. So I feel you, and I get it. Do you like to sing, Carmen?
Oh. You should sing something for her, Demi.
Go on and try to tear me down. I will be rising from the ground like a skyscraper.
There you go. Standing ovation.
So what this was, just to get this straight, is that the two dudes had to leave the room because the ghost had experienced sexual trauma. So Demi Lovato saying to a ghost that had experienced sexual trauma, and then the ghost responded through the electromagnetic field detector. Apparently, Demi Lovato thinks positively, but here's the question. How do we know? Perhaps the ghost was screaming in agony at this entire situation. Perhaps.
How do we know? How do we know about the ghost? Here's the thing about the ghost. That, like, the lowest level, like, you don't need scanners. They're not analyzing any like a robotic sound. Tell me there's better ghost shows than this.
Well, this is low all around, right? Because Demi clearly is desperate for attention. I'll be honest with you, I genuinely don't. She's a singer, she's an actor. I don't even really know, or maybe a little bit of both. I guess most people are both these days. But
heroin addict,
remember that? Yeah, there was a meme going around. Remember that? Oh, it last summer.
No, she really did do heroin.
Yeah, well, maybe 2 summers ago, where it's like, oh, it's hotter than a spoon at Demi Lovato's house. Anyways, she's so desperate for attention, right? She hopped out the window and said that she's they and did the terrible haircut thing, which is par for the course. And then she said that she would date an alien. And now obviously she's moved on from aliens to talking to ghosts. So it's a low for her. She clearly needs attention. I don't know if there's not enough award shows going on or why she stooped to this level and why the producers of this show, I guess this might be maybe a step up for them. I don't know. Do they usually have Disney style celebrities on the show to go around and talk to the ghosts? It just doesn't make any sense. But I guess we can call it a small victory for them because we're talking about it and Shapiro is talking about it and he's gonna shoot you straight. So maybe it's a win for them, but it is embarrassing, bro. Like this is the level that these people have gone to remain, I guess, a tiny bit relevant.
It's the most talked about paranormal show in conservative circles of all time, I think. It reminds me of, remember that bad 80s movie? I don't know if the real name was Mac and Cheese or whatever, or if that was a Sunny in Philadelphia spinoff, but it was that terrible robot. That's what that sound reminded me of. I forget what it was. Was it called Mac and Cheese? But it's like, this is low budget even if they got Demi Lovato, this is low budget for a paranormal show. And I remember probably when I was like 19 or something, I saw this terrible paranormal show where just and I had been in radio school, so editing audio, and they take the audio that they find from the microphones in this haunted house and they just analyze it, and any little blip at all other than just a flat line, they're like, that must have been the ghost communicating with us. That must have been this. And it was so bad and it was so angering, and I couldn't believe people had a TV show, because even if the show failed, they still probably made like 10 grand an episode of it.
But why also do they just have no choice but to throw the sexual victim card in there? I mean, it's already bizarre enough that they're talking to ghosts. I mean, just what it was maybe 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, that she was talking about how she would date an alien, in the word alien was offensive and you have to use extraterrestrial or whatever it is. But why can they never just have a conversation? As bizarre as it wants to be, there has to be a victimhood card on top of it at any given point. It just can't be a regular alien or a regular ghost. It is a sexually abused ghost. I mean, this is just beyond.
I don't know why I said Mac and Cheese. It was Mac and Me.
I don't remember that one. This is beyond me. This is from the 80s. This doesn't even look that old.
This is a commercial for Hawkeye.
Okay. This is an ad. All right, makes sense.
This is Mac and Me from the 80s. I'm not even going to put audio because it'll get pulled. There's no need to fight this copyright claim. So it's like this robot, this kid's flying down this hill and he falls off a cliff, and then the robot that's an alien. That's not the one I was thinking of. This is the terrible alien one. I'm going to have to, I should put in a phone a friend to my brother. But
I don't remember this at all. I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say I do not know what this is. I've never
actually seen it.
No, this doesn't ring a bell at all, though. Like, you can kind of be like, oh, I vaguely remember that, but no, this one didn't make it to Oakland, California.
There's some movies that are just always on TV. Remember the days of TBS where it's the same movies over and over again all day,
that's how I got
day?
Well, that's basically how I got addicted to Seinfeld. It was just coming on all the time. And so
isn't it weird how in Canada I got the Atlanta TBS feed for most of my life? Like, it was just always Atlanta for some reason. And like Seinfeld, Family Feud.
Oh yeah. It was...
Everybody Loves Raymond. That turned into Peachtree TV. We're really reminiscing here. I'll find the 80s robot movie is what I'm going to put in, and we'll look for that when we listen to Trump. Now, how do you feel about all this Trump vaccine stuff? Because everybody's on his ass about it. I mean, I even see the conservative leader of Alberta, who's not neocon maybe, but it's like establishment conservative as it gets, touting this clip that we're going to show. And of course, he left out the part where Trump claimed that nobody's dying if they get it, which is obviously statistically untrue. And how do you feel about this? Do you think he's going to lose a ton of support? Do you think he's just appealing to the Democratic voters because he wants to run again? I wrote it down. The title is 8D chess because maybe that's just what he's trying to do here. He doesn't really, he's not hardcore for it, but he knows that if he starts saying that it's a good thing, he'll get more Democratic voters. What do you think?
Or maybe if he starts saying it's a good thing, then the Democrats will lay off of the mandates, right? I mean, they have no choice but to do the exact opposite of what he says.
That's
So when you
fair.
say 8D chess, that's kind of what I think. But to me personally, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Donald Trump he's if we're going to be honest, if we're going to shoot it straight, he's too old for another run. So it doesn't matter. He's not president now. So it doesn't matter. This is just a way for, I mean, I guess it's him just kind of staying relevant. But, and a lot of people are mad about it. Now, I was maybe a little bit angry about it at the beginning because I don't think we needed this push from the start. So now to see it, it doesn't matter. It's predictable. And I didn't watch the whole interview with Candace or whatever, but he's going around on tour with Bill O'Reilly and touting these things. And again, it just doesn't matter. But we do live in a world that as far as you want to talk about 4D, 8D chess or whatever, this is the move that he should have made early on, because we all know that if Donald Trump would have come out and said, you have to take this thing, it is required, then there would have been riots in the street, right? So nobody, it would have been protesting night and day if he would have said it. But now that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and whoever Fauci is talking about, you got to do this and you can't get on a plane, which I guess is already the rule up there in America's hat. But the long story short is this really doesn't matter, because as much as Donald Trump wants to, I mean, he's not the president. It's a talking point. It'll be in the news for a week or two and then it'll go away and nobody will care.
I think he's making a mistake if he wants to continue to appeal to the people who voted him before. I think most of the people are past that, but there is a certain section of boomers who are very pro-vaccine. They email me every day. You're killing people. It's the sect of people who say, the government's liars, the media is liars. You can't trust anything they say. Trump is the best. And then at the end of the day, they say, oh, they wouldn't lie about this. The government and the healthcare system and the pharmaceutical companies, they wouldn't lie about this. So there's a strong contingent of those people who frankly don't have much to lose because they're on a pension, and there's so many of those what we call golden parachutes in Canada of people who are auto workers and trades workers who the company or the country certainly can't afford anymore. But that's the certain sect that's, hardcore vaccine ride till I die type of people that I think he would appeal to. And maybe that's a lot of people, and it probably is a lot of people in the US. But in terms of people moving forward, he's definitely losing anybody who's just like, I still, even though I kind of think he played his role, I don't think I would support Trump that much moving forward. People who are like that are definitely not going to support this. And I point to people like Anomaly, who's been on his ass for a year and turned out to be right about this sort of stuff. Or like Bryson Gray, who doesn't agree with it. Like Candace Owens, we know doesn't agree with it, but she wants to do that interview. So she's going to basically say it is what it is and take the, the role there of having such a big interview. Of course she is. But that's what I think is going to happen. I think the more he talks about this, the more he's going to lose, hardcore mobile support of people who are willing to do active work for him. And I think that goes to show that maybe he doesn't really have the team around him that he used to, because usually what would happen back in the day, and by back in the day, I mean like 2 years ago or less, is that he'd say something and it didn't hit home that well. And then, you'd have Roger Stone, or you'd have, for better or for worse, Jared Kushner and Ivanka, or you have somebody, Stephen Miller, somebody trying to steer him in the direction that his fan base wants after he said something, maybe tell him to cool it off or increase his talking points on that. But I don't think he has that anymore. I think he's traveling around with Bill O'Reilly, and they're selling tickets to these boomers who are saying,
and the Hannity crowd.
Inject me 60. Yeah. Inject me 13 times, please. And, I got money to spend. And that's the sad reality of it, is you got money to spend and it's coming to you no matter what. You don't really have to go searching too hard. Because let's be honest here, when you've got people like the Shapiros and the other ones who have been on the other side for all these other topics, and then they promote vaccines, now they're coming around to, obviously, these mandates are stupid, which I'm not saying Ben Shapiro said before, but now they're more vocally against it. Jordan Peterson is another person who's now vocally against it.
And they both are on record having got the shot, right? Shapiro and Peterson, but they're both, vocally against the mandates, which makes sense. And really briefly, I think a lot of people now. I'm not happy about the talk of vaccines and stuff, or Trump really pushing this thing. But I think we can at least give him credit for standing behind the idea that it shouldn't be mandatory. I don't think there's at any point, maybe you could pull the clip, but I don't think he's ever supported a mandate for it. He's just standing behind this thing that he claims to have gotten done. Now we can talk about the timeline and how it might not really be possible, and all these memes floating around on Instagram about, well, if you had to get, this many doses by this amount of time, you would have had to do it for 10 years. Have you seen that meme? Maybe I should have sent it to you a while ago. It'll probably be hard to find now. I'm sure it's probably been deleted by now. But the point is, we can give him a little bit of credit for at least saying that it shouldn't be mandatory. Or where you have Joe Biden on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, where he is on record and, Psaki, Circleback Psaki, saying that this shouldn't be mandatory. And then what happened? You fast forward 6 months, and now it's illegal to have a job in New York if you don't get it. So these people, at least he hasn't gone that bad. And I don't think that credit where it's due, and the fact that this has always been he hasn't changed the talking point, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. So do I like it? Does it make me lose? Am I a little bit less of a supporter for it? Maybe, but again, it doesn't matter because he's not the president. He's not making the decisions. We all know, or I guess I should say that we don't know who's making the decisions. And now, of course, we have Charlemagne the God, who's calling out Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and of course getting shut off by her handlers. But of course, he takes it from this left-wing perspective about Joe Manchin, obstructing Build Back Better. And I guess I'm getting off the topic here, but the point is, at least Trump has stayed consistent. He hasn't flip-flopped like Joe Biden, who said, well, Joe Biden even at one point was saying that the mask shouldn't be mandatory. And then that changed. Now he continues to extend the mask mandate on airplanes, even when CEOs are like, it doesn't make any sense. So I give him credit for at least remaining consistent. But outside of all that, he's just too old, and there needs to be somebody else anyways.
Yeah, I think you can give him credit for the fact that I don't think it would be mandatory for people to work or to have the vaccine in order to work under Trump. I don't think that would be a thing. I don't think you'd have vaccine passports under Trump, or at least he'd stop it from a federal level as much as he can. And I think he can get theoretical credit for that. Personally, I don't think he got the vaccine. I think he got like the super, well-developed treatment that maybe Joe Rogan would suggest you get, because he got COVID way back when, right? So I don't think
I was there too, by the way, at the Walter Reed. And they brought us pizza.
You were in the hospital with Trump holding his hand by his side? It'll be okay, Donald.
That was also, looking back at it now, that was really strange that there just happened to be this giant rally. This was pre-election. This was back in October of 2020. And, there was maybe 1 million people out there for the Walk Away campaign. I don't know whatever happened to Brandon Strzok or whatever his name is. He kind of seemed to have floated back into the bushes like Homer Simpson. But that, looking back at it now, it was very strange that he happened to get Rona on that weekend where there was millions of people in town that could be rallying for him outside of the hospital. Looking back at it, it's like, seems a little bit suspicious. But at the time, I was like, all right, this will be a fun thing to do. So I don't know.
All right, let's play this clip of him talking. It's not very long, but we'll see what it is.
Vaccine is one of the greatest achievements of mankind. We would have had in 1917, remember the Spanish flu, killed perhaps 100 million people. Actually, it ended the First World War because the soldiers were so. A lot of people don't know that. The soldiers got so sick. It was a terrible thing. There was no vaccines. There was no anything. I came up with a vaccine, with 3 vaccines. All are very, very good. Came up with 3 of them in less than 9 months. It was supposed to take 5 to 12 years.
And yet more people have died under COVID this year, by the way, under Joe Biden, than under you. And more people took the vaccine this year. So people are questioning how...
Well, no, the vaccine worked, but some people aren't taking it. The ones that get very sick and go to the hospital are the ones that don't take the vaccine.
See, what's cut off there is him saying that if you take it, you don't die. Now, kudos to Candace Owens. She's trying to be friendly and challenge him at the same time. He said a couple wrong things there, obviously. That there would have been hundreds of millions of deaths. The Spanish flu is a higher death rate than 9.9 7% over COVID is, first of all. And then what was the other thing he said there? Let me just play that back.
Vaccine is one of the greatest achievements in less than 9 months. It was
the claim about they're all great vaccines. They're not all great. Yes, YouTube censors, everything's wonderful, but the Johnson & Johnson efficacy is far weaker because it's not an mRNA like the other ones. The Johnson & Johnson's just, I don't know what they came up with, but it's far less effective because it's a lesser dosage and it doesn't have these protein strains in it. So the Johnson & Johnson one is known to be both less effective and therefore less dangerous. It's a weaker dosage.
And they've admitted that as well, right? So they say, well, if you got the J&J for number one, then you should get the one. I don't even know what we can say now, but if you got the J&J, then you should get a different one, and you shouldn't get the J&J if anything else is available. Now, if anything else isn't available, then go ahead and roll the dice. I mean, how silly has this become, right? I mean, it doesn't
they
make any
pulled
sense.
it. They pulled it here. And what's interesting is the health minister for British Columbia the other day said that she repeated the thing they said a year ago, which they don't say anymore, which is whichever one you get first is the best choice. That's, first of all, you've pulled one of them. It's not available here. Secondly, we know that one of them is harsher to young men in terms of heart conditions. So just to blindly say, get whatever. What if I'm a 19-year-old guy, and I was once last year, I'll say, and you just get the one, like, why would you get the one that's most harmful to you when you could get one that isn't? And so to say that as a health official, I say fired immediately. You're putting people's lives at risk. Fired immediately. And that's the problem with all these people in all these sectors, whether it's Fauci, Tam, and we'll get to Ben Bankus making fun of Theresa Tam in a minute. But when you're speaking to, in Canada, 30 plus million people, in the US, 300 million plus people, UK, 80 million or whatever. And they're listening to you, probably too much, but you can't just say that. And like, Fauci's been caught lying several times. His email's been leaked several times showing that he lies.
He's invincible. He's invincible.
They've been wrong about masks. They've been wrong about getting the first one you can first. And listen, the statistics out there, I'm not in denial here that people don't, like, I'm not going to get it, but like, if you're one of these compromised, I don't even want to say this stuff because it makes you sound like you're a salesman for them. Don't get it if you don't want to. Get it if you want to. I don't care. You can weigh the benefits and the risks if you want, but for a doctor to go out there and say, well, just get anything, don't worry about it, just get whatever, don't worry about your age group or your prior health conditions or anything, just get it, immediately fired. If somebody was like, I guess I was going to say, if somebody told somebody to bomb a place and they were wrong about it, they get fired, but that doesn't happen too. The weapons of mass destruction. Have you been to the sites? Do you know what's there? There's nothing there. It's a green zone reference, Matt Damon. But
this is very similar to the WMD, right? I mean, they're just telling you all of this stuff, and eventually, 20 years are going to pass, and I'm like,
yeah,
we were wrong about that. Yeah. Oops, whoopsie. It doesn't matter. And just really quick, I wanted to say there's
go ahead.
This clip floating around of all the, I guess you might call them footballers, soccer players, and athletes and stuff collapsing, right? And I don't know why they're collapsing. I can't say, I am not a doctor, right? And it just reminded me, and this is just tinfoil hat stuff, but there was a security guard at the AmFest last week that had hit the floor, and he passed out and was like convulsing a little bit. And I didn't think too much of it, but now after seeing some of these clips, I think it was John Miller who posted this actually earlier this morning. This little supercut of these people collapsing and kind of convulsing, and it literally looked exactly like that security guard from the event last week. And I'm like, wow, like, I mean, obviously I can't really link these two things directly together, but it does beg a couple questions. Now, unfortunately, questions are not allowed, and you will be banned from the internet for asking them. But in my mind, I'm like, this, because look, we all know that the help has to wear the mask, and the help needs to get the juice. So it's just kind of creepy that of all the people there, a 10,000 person event where there were very few masks, the only people that you saw in masks were actually working including the security guards. I don't know if it was mandatory or if they chose that. I'm assuming they chose it, and they just are bitterly, collecting this paycheck while securing a bunch of people that they probably hate. But it's just really creepy to see this guy, having this episode on the ground. And it's probably completely unrelated, but it just falls right in line with exactly what I saw in that John Miller clip. And it's going to sound silly because people can't see the clip, but if you go follow John Miller on Instagram, you can see it.
Well, here's the thing about the soccer player stuff. And as a person who's paid attention to sports for pretty much my entire life, yes, soccer players do sometimes have heart conditions and heart attacks because of how much cardio is involved. And there is a list on Wikipedia of people who've died while being active players. Now, some years there's 3. In 2020, there's 3 people who died. 2019, there's like 11 or 12. 2018, there's like 6. So it fluctuates between, like 1 to 11, 12, 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. In 2021, there was like 18 on its own. Now, I know, and there's a Reuters article out about this that everybody cites, of course, that says the list people are floating around is people who've died in other sports and this, that, and the other. And that's the problem with a lot of this. Just like when I pointed out that this clip of Justin Trudeau isn't actually him talking about how he wants to be a tyrant. He was actually saying the opposite, criticizing our own Charter of Rights. But notwithstanding this list that somebody created that included like people who play lacrosse or like somebody who's like 13, all these other things that make it a bad list. I know that this isn't a regular thing. There's no sport where death is normal, right? Like in a NASCAR death, it's irregular. A Formula 1 race death is irregular. MMA death is irregular. Hockey, football. Think of all the head trauma that led to the Concussion movie and Will Smith and that whole ordeal. However, whichever side you want to take on that. That was people 30 years later having head trauma, like less than 20 years later in some cases, guys on the Pittsburgh Steelers going insane from their head trauma. There is no sport where dying is a regular thing. I'm sorry to tell you, even across the entire world, there's no sport where dying happens regularly. There is at least twice the amount these days. And this list of active players is not counting coaches and stuff who are not, of course, in peak shape in their 50s and 60s, but it's still irregular. Now, I'd like to point back, and as an anecdote, I know people are going to have a problem with that. You used to be able to find upwards of 10 players who have died on the field on a video all of time. If you look up a compilation, a few of them in random B, C, D leagues, African leagues, and whatnot, people having heart attacks and dying on the field. Now, you can look up an article every single week of somebody not necessarily dying, but having a heart attack on the field. I'm sorry to tell you, and it's always people who aren't sports fans, and they say, look at this this Reuters article, look at this list and whatnot. Even if it is, just double this year, it's way above average. This is not a regular thing. And there's enough people watching the sports world to say this is something that's happened more frequently. Now, of course, the Football Federation, FIFA, is going to come out and say, we haven't noticed anything, because they don't want you to notice anything. Just like the Olympic Committee isn't going to come out and say, we haven't noticed any slave labor in China while we're having the Olympics there. It's their job to tell you that everything's good. It's just not regular. Nobody is going to convince me that this much is regular. There's no sport where people just die all the time. It's not a real thing. It's a distraction. Now, you can say that it's not evidence of anything vaccine related or anything like that. I'm not even making that claim. But the amount of people that are having heart conditions on the field and dying is something different. Now, somebody else related a different article that says they've been looking into it for several years. Yes, they have. They increased the amount of heart tests they've had in younger people from once a year to 3 times a year, I believe, or it's 3 different ages, like 18, 19, and 20, instead of just once at 18 or something like that. And the references they use in that article of people dying are from several years apart. So don't let anybody tell you, especially not a person who doesn't watch sports, that this is normal. Oh, it's normal for soccer players to have heart attacks and die. It is not. It's not normal for people to have heart attacks, okay? It's just not a normal thing. Statistically, you can maybe say it's a certain amount, but people in their top physical condition doing something that is very hard on your cardiovascular system, possibly or impossibly reacting to something that gives heart conditions and has been known to give heart conditions, You're not going to convince me as a person who's been watching this stuff my whole life that, oh, there's nothing has changed here. We just have a greater access to information. And you can go deep. You can go last thing, Eric, you can go as deep as down the rabbit hole as you want on this. Is Wikipedia covering things up? They're very biased. Go as far as you want, but the sheer number of people having this happen to them is far different than any other year. And it's not because I'm getting, a link to this fraudulent list of somebody including lacrosse players on it. It's because I'm reading articles that say so-and-so from this high-level team has had a heart attack or a severe heart condition on the field. I just like, if you watch the NBA Finals every single year, Eric, then you know how many times Michael Jordan has been in it, even though they say, oh, it's regular that 16 guys break their legs and you just know, if you watch it, you know how often something happens.
Yeah, well, it sounds like the the Gelman amnesia effect, right? Is that what it's called? Where when you know about something and you see people lying about it or misrepresenting it, then you know the truth, and then they go to some other subject, but somehow you think that they're telling the truth at this point. And also, as far as the the major league sports, NBA, NHL, NFL, I don't know about the MLB. Maybe it's just not as close contact or whatever. But was it Clay Travis, right, from Outkick, who tweeted out something highly controversial about the 95, 96, 98% vaccination rates in these major sports leagues, but the seasons are still getting interrupted. Okay, so is that all they're trying to do there is blame a handful of people, the Kyrie Irvings and the Jonathan Isaacs of the entire sports world, maybe a dozen people across 3 different leagues who didn't get it, and they want to blame them for this entire thing collapsing? Or are you just going to finally admit that maybe it's not doing exactly what we said it's going to do? And just to bring it completely full circle, the questions and the points that you're bringing up are unacceptable, and it's almost like when you're so you can't ask those questions, you can't notice those things, that makes you misinformation. And it's the same thing, we see it in almost every sector, most notably in California, when the smash and grabs and the robberies and the looting and stuff is happening, and they say, well, using the word looting is racist. So when you start to notice things go left, as they say, literally and figuratively, I guess, when you start to see things that just don't really add up, and you speak out about it, then that is completely unacceptable. But that's what this has all become here. I mean, we have to walk on eggshells here on YouTube. I mean, even now, there's that story about Getter, who claims to be all about free speech, and we could talk about their links to China, which I think is not quite as spooky as, or I don't, can you even say spooky now? I think that's also racist anyways. There's certain things that you can't say, certain points that you can't make, because that puts you into this right-wing extremist category and all sorts of stuff. But that's the entire point. And we're going to get to a point where, I mean, Rumble is probably, I don't want to put any bad vibes out there, but what's happening here, and I think you notice it, and people who follow the media probably notice it, that the establishment has completely lost control, right? In 1995, everybody got their information from a handful of sources. And then slowly, as the internet started to take over, there was more opinions and more, alternative facts maybe out there. So in order to combat that, they have to completely censor everything. Because what we used to think of as censorship would just be like, okay, you can't show boobs on TV or whatever. And that kind of made sense, all right, for kids or whatever. But now it's to the point where you can't say anything on these other platforms because it threatens our power, the power that we've had for decades, via only allowing you to look at 3 different channels on television. So the more you notice it, the more of a threat you are, and the less you can actually say about it. Now, there's one of 2 ways we can go, right? We can climb our way out of this slowly but surely, which I think that sanity will eventually prevail, but these people are in these death throes, and they're going to lash out the hardest as they continue to die. I mean, we have things kind of swinging in the right direction. I mean, with the Rittenhouse case, which, I maybe have some unpopular opinions about that, because, yeah, I'm glad that, the Second Amendment may still be intact for now, and self-defense is still good. But it is very weird how, you saw the clip with Elad getting kicked out of AmFest, and it's like, dude,
Mm-hmm.
he's an 18-year-old kid. Elad wants to ask him a couple questions, and no shade, shout out to the kid, but he doesn't have anything insightful to say, bro. Like, again, I mean that in the most respectful way. He's a kid. He's supposed to be like a senior in high school right now. He's not going to drop any knowledge bombs on you. He's just going to say, I want to thank God for getting me out of this, and that's going to be it. So I guess my point is, you can't ask any questions, and it sounds like your monologue there had a lot of questions, and those are just they're not acceptable.
Well, I'm happy to see, I guess, that this stuff is falling apart. Like you mentioned, the sports leagues, the NHL, I think, had 5 guys unvaccinated. They're shutting down.
I heard it was only 4, but I could be wrong.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure the exact number. I thought it was 5 or less, so you're probably right. And then the NBA, they have to beg Kyrie Irving to come back. He should hold out for more money once they ask, to be honest. Then in Alberta, they've asked unvaccinated healthcare workers to come back to help with the Omicron surge. If I were to have testing every day as well, if I were them, I'd say no testing just to stick it to them. Well, they probably want their job back quicker, so who knows? But I think it's falling apart, and it's funny to me.
And the testing is hilarious, by the way, just really quick, because obviously we know that they may or may not be reliable. I don't think anybody's going to question that. Even the most drunk on power and Rona Kool-Aid that can still say, these tests don't really make sense. Even LeBron James has kind of had some bad words to say about the test. But the point with the testing is, and I just saw this madhouse out in Brooklyn in my old neighborhood, which is infuriating. But the only goal there is to have more positives. That's literally the only goal. And Fauci's out there saying, well, we just need to get more diligent with the testing. Why is that, Fauci? So that more people can say that they've had the test and now they've come out positive, so you can just grab more power. That's literally the only purpose of flooding the entire. They're doing it worse than they did with mail-in votes. They're just flooding the entire country with these things and then saying, whoa, would you look at that? We better shut it down again.
Yeah, so you sent me the images of people lining up for it. It was the same thing here. And I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but they said we're counting all new cases as Omicron cases because, you'd have to send it to a lab to differentiate between the strains. So they literally said we're counting all new cases as Omicron cases. They sent out a bunch of tests. They handed them out at the liquor store, by the way, and other places. A bunch of people will come home and take their tests. And then all of a sudden, we've got record cases. Oh, my God, you guys. And it's just the worst and most obvious plan ever. The officials here are looking worse and worse by the day. And I think people are starting to finally realize. I think, will they do anything? I don't know about that at this point yet. I think in January, they're pulling the kids back from school. The teachers have worked for too long. 3 months has been too long for them. But I'm not sure what's going to happen. But I think it is falling apart a little bit. I found the movie, by the way.
You could look at some of the comments, even on mainstream NBC Instagram account, ABC mainstream stuff. We're not talking about Breitbart, or I guess Breitbart is mainstream now, but like we're not talking about, right-leaning sites. We're talking about mainstream sites. You could scroll through hundreds of comments of people being like, we're not buying this anymore. Get rid of this guy. And Instagram itself is not, I think traditionally there's more like common sense people on YouTube, and that's why they're so stringent with the restrictions. But Instagram is not,
or at least more right wing.
Yeah, exactly. So, but on Instagram, I think it's pretty, it's like Twitter, it's this weird left wing space kind of, and even those people are like, maybe we don't trust this guy anymore. So again, to your point, will anything change? Probably, but it's going to be a while still.
The movie was called Short Circuit.
I do remember this. I didn't obviously
robot.
Remember. I mean, I remember seeing it. I don't think I actually ever saw the movie, but I remember that robot.
Me neither, but I remember the robot.
Yeah. Okay.
Look, it's mixing drinks. Steve Gutenberg, who was apparently popular back then. But yeah, that's the robot I was thinking of. I don't know why I thought Mac and Me. That was an alien. A lot of whose idea was it? We need a buddy film, but we need to think outside the box. Black and white guy? No, we've done that. We need a robot. We need an alien. Remember Howard the Duck? Do you remember that one?
I do vaguely remember that. I mean, I remember the character. I don't think I actually saw the saw the show or the movie, but I remember as like a creepy looking duck.
I didn't know that, but the duck's an alien, and then I believe a woman falls in love with the duck. That was Pee Wee Herman too. This looks like Back to the Future to me. This is not Howard the Duck.
Because it is Back to the Future.
What's going on here?
I don't know. I forget how we even got here.
Howard
were we
the Duck,
talking
everybody.
about at the beginning with the robot? I don't even remember anymore, to be honest.
Nobody knows. But we do have a clip from Ben Bankus for our head health official in Canada, Theresa Tam. Very exciting. Let's watch.
Hey kids, just popping in with an update. All of you are getting Omicron on Christmas Eve. Santa, Mrs. Claus, and all the tiny little elves have their booster shots, but are also experiencing mild to severe symptoms. But they're still coming to deliver you all your presents, so don't be surprised if you wake up Christmas Day in an ICU. So
Are we allowed
I'm
to laugh
happy
at this?
report that Santa has an Omicron, and he came down your chimney last night. All the reindeer have been given to Dr. Fauci to be used as test subjects for the new vaccine that will count as your 8th booster. So Santa will be flying in a new Tesla Model F flying car prototype, sponsored by Pfizer. Oh,
I don't know if that's missing music or what, or if we're even allowed to legally laugh at that, Eric. But
well, I just want to not to be super petty about it, but this is the health lady. I mean, has she seen a dentist? I should say, like her teeth look a little, like. I mean, these people just want to preach at you about health, and they just don't look that healthy.
That German one, is it Germany or Belgium? It might be Belgium health minister. That morbidly obese lady. I think we can quickly find this, and we can get to
yeah,
Fauci.
the one who looks like
There we go.
The ghost from Ghostbusters. Yeah. Yeah.
This is just a picture of health. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, or Jabba the Hutt, maybe. Like, yeah, this is not good.
What's the one from Spaceballs? Pizza the Hut?
I don't know. I never saw that either. You're on the 80s movie kick today. And
I guess
all these
so.
movies I've never seen.
You sent me something about Fauci, which I'm gonna full stop didn't watch. Watch it and I'll react.
Beginning of the administration, the beginning of the year, there were essentially no rapid point of care home tests available. Now there are over 9 of them and more coming. The production of them has been rapidly upscaled, and yet because of the demand that we have, which in some respects, John, is good, that we have a high demand, because we should be using testing much more extensively than we have, even in a situation where you have people who are vaccinated or boosted. But the situation where you have such a high demand, a conflation of events, Omicron stirring people to get appropriately concerned and wanting to get tested, as well as the fact of the run-on tests during the holiday season. We've obviously got to do better. I mean, I think things will improve greatly as we get into January, but that doesn't help us today and tomorrow. So you're right, that is something that is of concern.
Eric, are we just on a 1-year loop here? Because it's like we're back to the first thing here. Like, we just need to get tested. We have no idea what's going on. Lock everything down, close everything up. And this is, by all accounts, a less serious strain that spreads easier but is less harmful by far. It's like we've just completely gone back to the beginning. Does it feel that way or what?
Yeah, and it makes sense because if you'll notice what he throws in there is like, we need to be using testing despite if people are vaccinated and boosted. It's like, well, remember there was a point in time where they said, if you get the shot, then you don't have to wear a mask. And then they said, forget about that. That doesn't matter anymore. This is very similar to that. It's like, yeah, you still got to get the test even though you got the shot. So something's not adding up here. And again, this is exactly what we see with the Flatbush, Brooklyn incident where these people are fighting over these tests. And you can go ahead and click on my YouTube channel and watch a video that I just posted about it because I lived in that neighborhood and I saw that empty testing site week after week, month after month with nothing going on. But these people have been beaten to submission after a year and a half of nonstop propaganda that what they didn't want a year and a half ago, they're now fighting over. And when these people come on TV and they say, we just need more testing, it's painfully obvious that those tests only serve them. They're not helping anybody. What are you supposed to do? You go home and you test negative, boom, mission accomplished. What's the point? What did it matter? And then if you test positive and you're at home, do you just sit at home by yourself with a mask on? I mean, there's really no answer to it. The only purpose this serves is to give Fauci and de Blasio or Eric Adams or these politicians more power, because there's going to be an uptick or a spike or a surge or whatever you want to call it. They're just going to say that there's more cases and we just need to lock you down again. And I don't know why. I mean, at first you could kind of understand maybe their benefit if they're in cahoots with the vaccine manufacturers, or if they're in cahoots with the Walmart family or Jeff Bezos or whatever his name is, and they're actually making money off this. But at this point, I genuinely don't understand what the benefit is for these, Fauci. And I think I mentioned this last week, but what other profession are we taking seriously at 81 years old, where we're just bowing to this guy like he can do no wrong at 80 years old? I can't think of one other field where we're taking somebody that serious. I mean, you're supposed to retire at 65, bro. Why are you still doing this? And you're
not even in seniors golf.
Yeah, exactly. You're terrorizing people, and he's going on. Now, I will give Fauci a little bit of credit, because at least he can put together a sentence, which Joe Biden can't do. And I think Biden is actually a couple years younger than Fauci, but it still just begs, well, this is, I guess, the logical end to their maniacal reign. Like, well, just we need to make sure they know these little at-home tests. I mean, look, it was bad enough when I was in New York and you had a bunch of 18 to 20-year-olds, jamming Q-tips up people's noses. Those weren't nurses. Those were kids wearing oversized orange vests and jabbing people with a Q-tip through a car window. So that wasn't effective, and it's definitely not going to be effective when you have these people, in this big crowd of people outside of a city bus, take these things home, and then they look like pregnancy tests. I mean, none of this adds up. The only thing they do is give Fauci and these weirdos more power. Now, the good thing is, it doesn't seem to be, okay, you have New Orleans and Chicago and DC, maybe Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, LA. But those are literally, half a dozen places or whatever who are still doing this. And the morons who live in those places, you sent me that graphic, they're fleeing. So people get it, and there's nobody else. You can't, I mean, they will laugh you out of the building here in Arizona if you start playing these games. I just came from a 10,000 person conference and nobody cares. It was a great time. Except for
that graphic you said,
there we go.
Net population change by state, so it's hard to see. I don't know why they don't let you zoom in better.
There you go.
Don't you hate when it does that stuff? Okay,
now,
so
who is this guy? He's a doctor, right? That's a doctor, because we don't take advice on
Dr.
anybody.
Eli David, a researcher and lecturer.
Sounds like a racist.
So Florida plus 220,000. If you can't read that, I wonder, why formatting? I'm plus 400% and it's smaller somehow. Anyways, Florida 220,000, Texas plus 170,000, Arizona plus 93, North and South Carolina 88-64, Tennessee, Georgia, Idaho, then it drops off at Utah. Where have people left the most? California. 367,000 people left California in 2021. 352,000 left New York, and then Chicago to a lesser extent, 122,000. So that's 600, 700, almost 900,000 people leaving just those three states. And then you can probably reach 1 million with Louisiana and Massachusetts. But you can see the states that are most free, Florida, Texas, Arizona, are all at the top. Then North Carolina, shit out Bryson Gray. What does North Carolina have on South Carolina? I don't know. I don't know the difference.
Michael Jordan? I don't know.
Several colleges, I guess, probably. And then Tennessee, of course, where the Daily Wire now is. So people have been voting with their feet, as they say, and I don't blame them. I mean, after looking up Arizona's gun laws, they're number 2 on my list. Next, now only Texas, because the comedy scene is interesting to me just from an entertainment standpoint and all the shows. But Arizona, with their castle doctrine and their open carry laws and, stand your ground laws, I mean, there's going to be a point where that stuff matters a lot. And there's states where you have duty to retreat, which means if somebody's breaking into your house and trying to kill you, if you have the chance to retreat, you got to retreat. Whereas in Arizona, if somebody's trying to damage your property or steal your property, you're allowed to hurt them. And if they're threatening your life or another person's life, you're allowed to kill them. So those are rules I can get behind.
Which is, it makes sense because I think about it when I was in Brooklyn. I'm like, man, I go back to like the fireworks and I'm like, dude, these fireworks have got to stop. Nobody's ever going to understand that. I maybe I should write another book about that or something, but nobody's ever going to understand the fireworks. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if you go and ask one of these thugs to stop shooting off fireworks, they probably have weapons and I don't have it. So I guess my point is here, you need those weapons, like you need them more in the places where you can't have them. And that's been the obvious problem.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's been the obvious problem. Now I'm here in Arizona now, and obviously I feel much safer, but I also have my own protection, and you just don't feel like you need it. But meanwhile, you go back to Brooklyn and there's people getting shoved onto the tracks and pushed down the stairs and robbed at knife point and all sorts of things. But you can't say, and same thing in California. They're doing these smash and grab jobs, but you can't protect yourself because that's, I guess, racist or homophobic or something. I'm not sure what they're calling
Isn't
it
it interesting how like a place with that much crime is the scene for so many superheroes like Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, the Ninja Turtles? They're all supposed what's his face? Iron Man. They're all supposed to be from New York. It's like you're supposed to have this fantasy that superheroes will come and save you, but at the same time defund the police and you can't have your own gun. It's just like, I don't know, there's probably something psychologically there where it's like you can imagine that there's like this savior waiting for you, but actually you're getting robbed at the subway while two dudes are, 69ing on a bench in the subway platform, as per the famous The video, Eric.
that actually happened. Yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah, that's the greatest and worst video of all time, isn't it?
Disgusting.
A Merry Christmas, by the way. You mentioned Boxing Day in Canada. It is a big deal, but I can't partake. I can go to the mall in my city. I can go to the mall. I can order food from the food court, but I can't sit down there. That's the law right now. Well, the mandate.
Which is not a law, but I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor, so I am not allowed to have an opinion on any of this. I'm also a man, so I also can't have an opinion on abortion until I decide.
You can. You can have a child.
I might hop the fence and become Erica. That is how I'm going to get on the LPGA tour. That's always been my dream, is to get on the LPGA tour and live out my twilight years playing from the red tees. On
you mentioned Clay Travis, and he said on Tucker, wouldn't it be funny if LeBron James, when he retired, went to the WNBA? That would be amazing.
Dude, LeBron he's turns
into
been in the league for 20 years, right? He's been in the league for 20 years, I think, or 19 years or something, and
no, it can't be that long.
He went into the league.
Like 15.
03. He got drafted in 2003.
Wow, okay. Wow, I'm old.
Yeah, I mean, you're telling me.
Anyways. But it would have to be like a 1950s announcer because everything's funnier that way. And LeBron James, at age 63, continues to shatter all WNBA records, becoming the first person to dunk in consecutive games.
I mean, they should bring back who was it? J.R. Smith, who went viral recently for saying like I can still play basketball. Like, send J.R. to the WNBA. That I would watch. J.R. Smith and the WNBA.
Dwyane Wade's son. That's what I was thinking, and I messaged you this the other day. I have this Samsung Smart TV, which has like free TV on it, which is great. It has like free movie channels and the 24-hour Hell's Kitchen channel, which I love. But I saw on there, I don't know if it's on there or some other platform, that Dwyane Wade has a show. And it's like when Dwyane Wade was playing and he was amazing and he won 2 titles, I think. One with Shaq, one without him. Right, one with Shaq and then one with
LeBron.
LeBron and Bosh. He wasn't like this sought after speaker. He wasn't this guy who was on all these shows. Like, yeah, he, as any champion does, he makes his appearances, but he wasn't necessarily somebody you'd think would have a show. And then out came all this stuff about him having a transgender son and how he supports it and everything. And then it's all first of all, I don't think it is fine to support that stuff for a child. But in relative to today's society, just saying, whatever, let them do what they want is, better than pushing it, which is what he ended up doing, and just being front and center and basically having your child be in the spotlight for its gender choices or its sexuality choices. That's weird, first of all, to put your child on TV for that. But it seems like the machine has rewarded him in this weird, like right-wing satanic conspiracy way where it's like, you've sacrificed your child to the media machine. Here's your show. Like, what do I care about? Like, what, like, I'm sorry, Dwyane Wade's not that exciting of a person to listen to. He's not Shaq. He's not Charles Barkley. It's not fun to tune into them and be like, what are they going to say now? Or he's funny. He was always a soft-spoken guy, and this just feels like he's been rewarded by the system. Like,
absolutely. And I remember, what you're saying, I remember because one of my buddies back in New York, he used to like make fun of me. It was kind of a running joke because how angry I would get at Dwyane Wade back when this like first came out. I was like, dude, this guy sacrificed his child. Now, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it makes perfect sense. I didn't realize he was actually going for a show. I kind of just blamed it on Gabrielle Union, who is a awful Hollywood shill who, it talks about how it was racism on America's Got Talent and everybody's against her. Meanwhile, she's been in Hollywood for, as long as he was in the NBA at least. And I kind of blamed it on that. But what we're seeing here is exactly what it was all for. So, like you said, just sacrifice your son to these Hollywood. I guess there's a bunch of things we can't say on YouTube, but these Hollywood people.
It looks like they ripped off In It to Win It, which was the show from Guy Fieri, where it was like party games, and that board really looked like Deal or No Deal. But like, he's not even as entertaining as Nick Cannon, and that's saying something. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know where.
He was remember. You do remember when he was shilling vaccines as well with Gabrielle Union and the little they them person that I guess his daughter or his son or whatever it was, and they had a little commercial about how we're gonna of course it was the little they them who was like running the show, like, come on guys, we're gonna be late for our vax appointment. I was like, dude, this is a mess. We've really got a mess on our hands. And it's like, dude, you are an NBA champion. If there's anybody on this planet who understands there's a difference between a man and a woman, it's you. You didn't go look to the WNBA and say, you know what, let's get rid of this Chris Bosh guy and we'll get Brittany Griner on here. That'll help us win a championship.
You even know the names.
Well, she's the only one who's ever slam dunked in the WNBA. And I also recently learned that another WNBA woman has a street named after her here in Phoenix, and it's just very weird because she's literally never done anything, but she has a street named after her.
He has to have gotten this popularity enough to be put on a network show from all this stuff with his son.
Yes.
Because where else does he get this fan base for, like, in this name recognition? Like, Nick Cannon, Wildin' Out, and then obviously his Drumline movies and all that and all the stuff. That's where he gets it from to be on America's Got Talent, because these very mainstream shows that are supposed to appeal to everybody, the singer, the voice, all this crap, you have to appeal to pretty much all audiences.
Wasn't he like a vocal racist though as well? But that just slides under the rug and nobody cares about Nick Cannon. Yeah,
he apologized for his terrible like that terrible like black supremacist where it's like the Jews were black, everyone. Something like that. And his was that the guy he was talking to, I don't know which one of them, I don't want to put the words in their mouths, but the theme was that the reason why white people came about is because they were too cowardly to come out of the mountains to go hunting, therefore they didn't get any sunlight. We could go back to that clip, but it's a couple years old. Oh man, I want to be like, Dwyane, I get like that you're 40 now and people can grow, but like, you're telling me that when you were on the courts when you were a teenager, playing in, I forget where he's from, is it Chicago? But wherever you're playing street ball, you guys were talking about, like, if you were to bring up like a transgender kid, you just be like, yeah, I think we should just respect whatever the kid says, and if he wants to be a girl, then he's a girl. Yeah, like, this isn't a conversation that, like, this isn't a viewpoint that has to change and grow with time. Like, a child's not an astronaut if they really think they are, you know? Like, and if you were to go back into his locker room right now of his team that he last played on and say these viewpoints, there's no way. Like, they're not getting agreed. You're not getting agreed. Like, Karan Butler is not just going to be like, yeah, I agree, man. Totally. Your son's a girl. Like, all this stuff. Like, even like on the set of NBA on TNT, Shaq would just be like, what are you talking about, Wade? You're saying your son's a girl. That's stupid, man. Shaq is everywhere, by the way. He's selling me like air conditioning. He's selling me car insurance. Try icy hot. My back hurts.
Yeah, he's got everything, bro. So good for Shaq, I guess.
The last thing I want to mention is I think it was Tim Dillon on Joe Rogan talking about the metaverse and how people are buying up space on there. My girlfriend was like, this can't be real. And I was like, I guess it's just marketing space. But my friend Travis, who's been on the show here, he mentioned to me that he's got, and somehow this has 26,000 followers, Eric. I guess it's cryptocurrency and a space in the metaverse for gaming. I don't quite understand how it works, but it's metaspace gaming. And I just wanted to talk about it because I was hoping maybe you knew about it. But I think it's a space in the metaverse, and you have to buy up space in order to advertise to people or to showcase things to people. But I think it's a place where they will market video games.
I have no idea about this. I'm sorry to disappoint. The metaverse, I'm not ready for, like, I am a boomer as far as this is concerned. I do not want any part of it. I've seen some, funny videos of people wearing these face mat or whatever, these VR headsets and running into walls and falling down and stuff. And what, as awful as the real world, at least back in Brooklyn, is, I don't want to live in the fake world. Like, not yet. I'm not ready to do that just yet. I don't want to live in the pod yet. I don't want to eat the bugs yet. I mean, maybe I'll get there, but I'm not ready to do it yet. Maybe after I buy a plot of real land, maybe back in South Dakota, wherever it's going to be, I'll get real land.
On
and
his
then
farm?
maybe somewhere out in Wyoming, I will get real land and then focus on virtual land. Is just, it feels like a trap to me. It feels like a trap, and it feels like somebody's going to pull the rug from under you, and it's not going to make any sense. Maybe this is here to stay. I guess there's a bunch of people who thought the internet was fake back in 1994, and they're eating their words now, and I'll probably end up doing that, but I'm just not ready to hop onto this just yet. Not by a long shot.
Oh, I'm not going to use it, but I am willing to make money off.
Especially when we have, we were going to talk briefly, I guess we're running out of time now, but we're going to talk briefly about the fight between Chesa Boudin, the San Francisco district attorney, and Mayor London Breed, who's pretending to get tough on crime now. So we have
I just want to sell your book first, Eric.
Well, of course I want to sell the book.
It's just on some website called Goodreads. Maybe it is a good read. New York City, you got 2020 Gotham Unglued. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes & Noble, which doesn't exist in Canada, so I'd suggest Amazon. Maybe Chapters in Indigo in Canada.
I think you can get it on Target. I think it's on the Target website as well.
Well, we don't have that. Target in Canada failed, if you didn't know, Eric.
I did not know that.
We had Target for a few months. We always had stores like that called Zellers, Sears, The Bay. Target, everybody was excited about. Not because of robberies like in San Francisco did it close, but it just didn't do well for some reason. So they had like 20 stores, I want to say. And it failed. And I'm going to bring up my best of show here, rebelnews.com/Andrew_says. A lot of Andrew content for you guys on Rebel at the end of the year here. I've got the best of my reporting. I've got the best moments of my show. And the best, wait a second, I also got a top 10 videos thing, but the best of Andrew Says 2021 is up now. I watched the whole thing. It's pretty entertaining. So if you have a subscription, you can go watch it. And it's also coming out this is the ad-free version. And if it's coming out on, it is coming out on Rumble and YouTube today with ads, of course, with my beautiful ad reads. So check that out. And then we can go to Eric Butler's latest article on TatumReport.com, for which he writes, and he was also in that wonderful AM Fest.
Yeah.
What was the question? You claim there was some
America
question
Fest, sorry. What?
Oh, sorry. You claimed there was some question that you guys were asking that nobody could answer. What was that question?
Oh, well, Candace actually ruined it because she asked Donald Trump the same exact question, which was, can you name one good thing about the Biden administration? And I promise you, I had come up with that question before I saw the Candace interview. I actually haven't seen the Candace interview, but I know she asked him that, and I don't remember what he said. It probably has something to do with the stupid vaccines. But out of at least 2 or 3 dozen people we talked to, nobody could come up with a policy point. Now, a lot of people gave. I'm already giving it away now. I don't know when it's going to show up on YouTube. Shout out to our editor.
Oh, it's not out yet. Okay.
There's a lot of content. He was working with Brandon, but whatever. The question was, if we could find anybody in this entire 10,000 person quote unquote conservative conference. Now I say quote unquote because it's really just common sense. You don't have to be a hardcore staunch conservative to be there. You could just be like, maybe your little girl isn't a boy, and then that makes you right wing. But anyways, we're just trying to find out if anybody can name one good thing about the Biden administration. And everybody basically rolled into these backhanded compliments about how Joe Biden is uniting people around his awful policies, and even the lefties who thought he was gonna forgive student loans are mad at him. Of course, he pushed the extension date out there, and that's going to just keep on happening. We know how that movie ends, or not how it ends, but that's what they do. Is like everything there's nothing temporary with the government. I think we know that, but nobody could actually give us a policy point. It was all backhanded compliments. It was just like, well, he's waking up Democrats, and he's waking up these sleeping idiots, and he's, people are, you know what I mean? It was never like, well, this policy on nothing. So hopefully that'll be out on the Tatum Report YouTube channel soon enough. And I just gave it away, but you should still watch it when it does come out. Sorry.
You guys need the links to this. I know, like, I speak to you like you're the direct reporter for the like you're the CEO of TatumReport.com, but the YouTube channel and links should be up here. Just
hey,
saying,
we're
I was trying to get to the San Francisco's far left district attorney upset with mayor's plan to get tough on crime. You want to explain that to everybody?
Yeah, so Chesaboudin, of course, is the crazy far left radical son of domestic terrorists. He was actually raised by his parents' friends because his parents were in jail after they killed a couple cops in upstate New York. That's not really what this is about. But London Breed is finally, I don't know what happened, if she saw some sort of internal polling or something, and she gave this speech. She gave this speech about how they're going to take the city back, and she even said the word bullshit, and she's really getting tough on crime, because I think what it was personally is that story that broke where people are now leaving their doors open so that criminals don't smash the windows. Right. I think that was probably the straw that broke the camel's back. And she's like, we're going to really get tough on crime. And of course, Chesa came out and said that he used just a bunch of buzzwords. He said, we have to look into the root causes, and police reactions are not the answer. He even wrote an op-ed. In a San Francisco publication pointing the finger in every single direction. I mean, it was like his own Spider-Man meme. He's pointing in every single direction. He has nothing to do with the crime that's happening in San Francisco, and he is now mad at the mayor for. And let's just be honest that she's only given a speech, but that's what Democrats do, is their speeches basically amount to policy. So Joe Biden comes out and says, you have to get the shot now, and everybody thinks it's real, even though there's no paperwork behind it. So she hasn't actually done anything, but he's still mad at her for threatening to do something, because people are really starting to get angry about the crime in San Francisco. And he's like, well, don't blame the progressive policies because it's not our fault. That's basically what he said. And the entire thing has just become a complete joke.
Yeah, it's saying arresting people who are addicted to drugs, jailing people who have mental health struggles. So basically saying that being tough on crime would just end up arresting homeless people. And that's long and short of it. No, there's a real, like, everybody at this point has seen the raids of Targets and all these other stores that are coordinated with like a dozen people or more. The smash and grabs in the streets are not homeless people. They're people with those little punchy things. I mean, you even saw it in the video for the, the package thief videos that are popular. There's like 5 versions of it where they put like glitter bombs in it and everything. Even that happened where they went into a store and somebody stole the package from their car while they were inside of a store. So to say that it's just all like arresting homeless people is a lie. Obviously, these people need to be put in some sort of assisted living or something like that.
And
but there's the people who
Chesa,
just.
oh, well, Chesa is, he is, as much as the left or the progressives or whatever want to claim that, George Soros is a right-wing boogeyman. He is funded by George Soros, along with George Gascon, who's the DA in Los Angeles. And it's obvious that there's a bigger payday for him. There's more in it for him to continue with these progressive policies than it is to help the citizens of San Francisco. So he needs to go.
It's just so sad. It's just so sad that, like, imagine living there. Like, if you had guns, this wouldn't happen. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
All the wrong people do have guns, and that's the problem. It's not the right people that have guns.
Oh my God, what a time to be alive. I think the South should secede right now. Thanks for watching, everybody. Shout out to everybody watching on Getter. Shout out to everybody who watches on Twitter and YouTube. I see some extra faces. Somebody's blowing up the chat. We'll give them a shout out. Dios Muertos 666. That's evil. That's satanic. That's demonic. We can't have names like that. Screen's name's demonic. And so Merry Christmas to everyone in all Christmas celebrating countries. Kwanzaa, Eric, was made up in like the 60s by a black supremacist. I just want to point out.
I feel like it wasn't even the 60s. I think it was like the 80s, but I don't know. I could be wrong. I have no idea.
Somebody name, I'll shout them out just because it's Christmas. Usually only paid chats do. Vask.tech, I don't know what that means. Miarij Gwendolyn. So maybe getting popular in South America for saying Merry Christmas. Shout out to even Will Witt, who sent me a very nice text message wishing me a Merry Christmas. Surprising. I didn't know he actually loved me as much as he says he does. So thank you. Final thoughts, Eric? Look out for yourself and each other, as Jerry Springer would say.
Obviously, by the book, New York City 2020 is gonna. It's a gem. It really is. And I thought the photo behind me, of course, is in the book, and I thought it was at rock bottom when I left. That was obviously not the case. So check it out before it decays into absolutely nothing. And I want to shout out my personal YouTube really quick. Go ahead and check out Report and Opine on YouTube. I'm going to try to be posting there a little bit more, as well as, because I have to vent these things out. Otherwise, I'm just going to go crazy. So check it out for some rants and raving of just me at the camera. That's pretty much it. And shout out Dios Muertos 666. Maybe you should go a little less satanic with the name, but yeah, thanks for the love.
Oh, another person speaking, Hinatachan. So we're reaching all the corners of the earth, Eric.
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody. We'll be back with some new stuff in the new year. That's only a week away.